So we have had another action-packed weekend in the Championship, and in today's video we're going to be rounding up everything that happened over the course of this weekend. Also, as we do have some midweek fixtures going on this week as well, in the second half of the video I'll be giving you guys my predictions for what I think will happen in those midweek games. Also, let me know in the comments down below, what do you make of your team's performance this weekend, and how do you think your team will get on in midweek? And we got a lot to talk over in today's video. We got a new team who's top of the league now in the Championship. We had some absolute screamers scored this weekend, and also we had this comment left on the last video, and I mean, what can I say? I'm looking forward to the wedding. But just before we do get into talking about any of the games, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did get any of your score predictions correct this weekend, then I will include your comment on screen now. Fair play to everyone who did get one. I had a pretty good week for my score predictions, really. I managed to get 3 of mine correct this weekend. I managed to go ahead and predict the Sheffield Wednesday game, the Preston game, and the Stoke game as well. So not too bad going from me. But apart from that, guys, let's jump into talking about some of these games. So starting it out, we had Sheffield Wednesday going up against Leeds United, finishing as a 1-1 draw in the end, and actually a really entertaining game of football. The first half especially was played at an absolutely frantic pace and was a really engaging game to watch, but both teams had chances in the first half. Leeds had a great one. Barry Douglas, free at the far post, had a header, just spooned it towards the back post, didn't really get a good connection on it, and Leeds had a couple of other opportunities in that half, but it was Adam Reach who gave Sheffield Wednesday the lead with an absolutely outrageous goal, a dipping volley from 30-35 yards out. Absolutely superb. The amount of dip it had in it to go crashing in off the post, and an absolute spectacular goal from him. Last week we had John McGinty, an absolute worldie for Aston Villa. This week we had Adam Reach, and Adam Reach has scored some absolutely cracking goals from his time at Sheffield Wednesday, but that's another to add to the collection. Going into the second half then, Leeds managed to respond fairly early on. Click himself scoring an absolute banger into the back of the net. That managed to level it up at 1-1. After that, Leeds were just growing and growing in confidence. I thought that despite all the players they still have out injured, I thought this was an excellent away performance from Leeds United, and they were probably unlucky not to pick up all 3 points in this one, really. In the second half, they were really pushing for that winner, just nothing was falling for them in the end. If you look at the stats at the end of this game, they created a lot of chances, they just couldn't go on to find that winner in the end. Sides had a good chance late on, he just couldn't connect with the header with the ball coming into the box from Jack Harrison, but in the end finishing as a 1-1 draw, a very good game to watch. And the other game on Friday night saw Bristol City go up against Aston Villa, this one finishing as a 1-1 draw in the end, and the pressure continues to grow on Steve Bruce. Quite rightly so, a lot of the Aston Villa fans aren't happy with him at the moment, and once again it was quite a disjointed performance from Aston Villa, really. The first half especially, I thought they were far off the pace. It was Bristol City who managed to take the lead through Josh Brownhill after 16 minutes, a long-ranging effort, managed to sneak in into the back of the net, and after that Bristol City were looking alright in that first half actually. Aston Villa did respond just before half-time. Bjarnason from a header, the ball coming in from the left-hand side from Conor Hourihane, and Bjarnason managed to head them 1-1 going into half-time. Then into the second half, a lot of Villa's chances were coming from long range, really. Tammy Abraham and Jonathan Kodjo couldn't really play off each other and get any clear-cut chances themselves. A lot of chances coming from midfield, McGinn and Hourihane trying to find that winner, but in the end nothing was really falling for them. Bristol City also had chances in that second half, but a 1-1 draw, probably the right result in the end. But Aston Villa fans will be very interested now as to how much longer do you think Steve Bruce realistically has in the job if results carry on going this way. Then we have Birmingham against Ipswich Town, this one finishing as a 2-2 draw in the end. Quite a bizarre game of football, really, because Ipswich were 2-0 up at half-time, but come 90 minutes, Birmingham were probably the side that were disappointed not to pick up all 3 points from this one, really. So Ipswich still without a win this season in the Championship. They are now on 6 points, picking up 6 draws so far. But so far this season with Birmingham, we've mostly seen them have a really solid defence. They've been well drilled under Gary Monk, but in the first half of this one, some sloppy mistakes seeming to seep into their game, really. I thought that both goals were probably avoidable, but even so, Ipswich were looking good for that first half. They were hitting them on the counter-attack well, the second one coming from a set piece, and they got themselves into a really good position at half-time. But something seemed to change with Birmingham going into that second half. They looked a lot more top-heavy going forward, and they looked a lot more focused. When they got that first goal back from Djukovic, Jota just slipping him through on goal. The goal that Birmingham equalised with took a few efforts to go into the back of the net, but eventually they managed to scramble it across. And then later on in this game, Pennington was also sent off for 2 yellow cards, and in the end Ipswich were just holding on for the point, really. So going into this game, Ipswich may have taken a point from it, but to give away a 2-goal lead was probably disappointed. But with the amount of chances that Birmingham had in the second half of this one, they were probably unlucky not to win it themselves. So a really bizarre game, but an entertaining one to watch nevertheless. Then we have Blackburn going up against Nottingham Forest. Forest. This one finishing as a 2-2 draw in the end. A really entertaining spectacle between these two sides. First of all, we had Lewis Grabban missing a penalty in the first half for Nottingham Forest. A golden chance to give them the lead, but he blazed that one over the crossbar. Going into the second half though, it was Lewis Grabban who managed to give Nottingham Forest the lead. Some nice counter-attacking play for them. Joe Carvalho with the ball into the box, and then Lewis Grabban managed to nod them 1-0 in front. Blackburn did respond well to going behind though. Adam Armstrong popping up with the equaliser with a goal out of nowhere really. It was sort of a chip shot coming in from the left-hand side. Managed to go ahead and level it up at 1-1. After that, Blackburn were looking good going forward. Danny Graham and Bradley Dack linking up superbly going forward. Those two have had a really good partnership so far this season. I'd like to see more of that as the season progresses. But it was Bradley Dack who managed to give Blackburn a 2-1 lead in this game. Once again, Danny Graham turning provider for this one. Then in the 80th minute, we saw Lewis Grabban go ahead and level for Nottingham Forest from the penalty spot to make it finish as a 2-2 draw in the end. But in the end, finishing as a 2-2 draw, it was quite an open, expansive game. Both teams looking good on the counter-attack especially, and the battle of midfield in this one was a really interesting watch. But finishing as a 2-2 draw, probably the right result. Then into Saturday's games, we saw Bolton beat Derby County by 1-0. A fantastic home performance from Bolton, as Derby had a bit of a hangover from midweek as they knocked Man United out of the EFL Cup. In this one, it was Craig Noon with the only goal of the game, a headed one going in past Scott Carson. Also a very nice celebration from him, running over to celebrate with Stephen Darby, who earlier this month was diagnosed with motor neuron disease. So quite a nice touch that for the celebration. But after that, Derby had a lot of the ball in this one, but they only managed to muster up one shot on target, and even that was coming towards the end of the game, you know. A lot of this one saw Derby have a lot of possession. You know, they had about 74% possession in this one. They weren't very penetrating with it. Bolton weren't letting them get in behind. A lot of their chances were coming from long range, and they were floating over the bar or going just wide of the post. Mason Mount did have a good chance late on for Derby, a looping ball coming in from the left-hand side, but in the end it was a good save from Alwick to go ahead and deny him. So a fantastic win for Bolton in that one. Derby were really at the pace for this one. Then we had Brentford going up against Reading. Quite a high energy game this one. It was Brentford who took the lead in this game thanks to Neil Maupay, their starlet so far this season. Quite poor defending from Reading really. They had a couple of opportunities to clear their lines before Neil Maupay was able to ghost in at the back post and give them that 1-goal lead. But Reading managed to get back into the game through John Daddy Budvardsson. In this game, it was Daniel Bentley, the Brentford goalkeeper, who had a day to forget really. Two mistakes from him cost Brentford 2 goals in this game. Usually he is quite a reliable goalkeeper for Brentford, but in this game he just had a bit of a nightmare really. So John Daddy Budvardsson managed to get Reading back into it. After that, John Swift managed to make it 2-1 to Reading. We had more late drama going on in this game as Ben Rama was sent off for 2 yellow cards in the 86th minute, and then in the 92nd minute Brentford managed to equalise through a corner coming in. Once again, Reading probably a bit disappointed to concede from a set piece like that. Reading though have been on a decent run of form in the Championship recently. 2 wins and a draw in the last 4 Championship games, especially as they came from a goal behind early on in this game. You know, a couple of times that we saw with Reading last season, mentally they looked a little bit weak sometimes. We didn't always see a response from them. You know, when they went a goal down, their players' heads seemed to drop. But in this one, that wasn't the case, and it was an entertaining 2-2 draw. Then we had Hull City drawing 1-1 with Middlesbrough, and I feel like this result will be a bit of a frustrating one for Middlesbrough. Coming into this game, they'll probably be targeting for 3 points in this one, but Hull actually managed to hold their own in this game really. It was Middlesbrough who took the lead through Britta Sombalonga in the second half. A Johnny Howson cross coming into the back post, and a really composed finish from Britta Sombalonga managed to make it 1-0 to Middlesbrough, but they allowed Hull back into the game. A really clumsy challenge from Daniel Ayala gave away a penalty, and Jared Bowen managed to make it 1-1. Jared Bowen also causing Middlesbrough a couple of problems in this one, cutting inside on his left foot and looking to bend into that far corner. He just had a couple of attempts going over the bar. Middlesbrough though did have chances to go and make it 2-1. David Marshall, the Hull goalkeeper, I thought had a terrific game in this one, made some top saves for them to go ahead and restore the 1-1 draw in the end. But a decent point I feel like for Hull in the end. Middlesbrough I feel like would have been a little bit frustrated with some of the chances they had in that game, but overall finishing as a 1-1 draw, probably the fair result. Then we saw Sheffield United walk away from the Den with a 3-2 away victory, and Sheffield United recently have got a bit of a knack of scoring late winners, but Millwall in this one would have been very frustrated. In the first half though, I thought it was Sheffield United who had the better of it. They missed a penalty. It was Billy Sharp who had one turned onto the bar from Ben Amos, but shortly after that Billy Sharp managed to give Sheffield United the lead after heading them 1-0 in front and going into half time. In the second half, Millwall seemed to turn the game on its head. Cooper managing to level it up, and then Gregory, after he was sent through on goal, managed to make it 2-1 to Millwall. But so many times this season we've seen Millwall get into these winning positions or play a good 20 minutes of football, and then everything just is thrown away in the last 10 minutes of the game. Once again, the same result in this one. It was Dave McGoldrick who managed to level for Sheffield United from a penalty, and then in the 88th minute he managed to go on and secure all 3 points for Sheffield United. It was actually quite a nice passing move, Duffy and McGoldrick linking up for that one, but even so, McGoldrick had an absolute acre of space inside the 6-yard box, and Millwall, once again, it's been a poor start to the season for them. They're now sat 23rd in the Championship, and they've only picked up up 6 points so far this season. Whereas you look at Sheffield United, they are still sat 4th, but are only 1 point off the top of the table. So they've been on an excellent run of form lately. I think they've only lost 1 of their last 8 games in the Championship. So Sheffield United really are looking good at the moment. They've got this winning mentality about them. Even when they are behind, there's that never say die attitude about them, and I do respect that with Sheffield United. But a fantastic 3 points to them. Then we saw my team Preston go up against West Brom, and West Brom managed to walk away with a 3-2 away victory. And with Preston at the moment, it's just so easy to predict, and just a frustrating afternoon once again for us, really. In the first half of this game, I actually thought that we were alright. Chris Maxwell made 2 absolutely fantastic saves for us at point-blank range. I thought that we were alright in the first half, really. Alex Neil set us up with a 5-man defence. We were looking to suffocate West Brom going forward, not let them have a lot of opportunities to get in behind, and we were setting up with 3 quite defensive midfielders. So we weren't really allowing West Brom much going forward. Ourselves going forward in that first half, we offered absolutely nothing. We had nothing going for us, apart from Ryan Ledson hitting the post from long range. But as soon as West Brom took the lead on the 48th minute through Jay Rodriguez, our plans sort of fell apart, really, because the way we were set up was to play for a 0-0 draw. In fairness to us, we did get back into the game through a free kick from Andy Hughes, but then just 2 minutes later, West Brom retook the lead, and our mental fragility at the moment is absolutely baffling. As soon as we got back into the game, I said we're going to concede straight away here, and 2 minutes later, they went down the pitch. It was a Ben Davies own goal in the end. He tried to clear it, and in the end, it was sort of a looping header past Chris Maxwell. Dwight Gale then made it 3-1 with a fantastic long-ranging free kick. After that, it was lights out for us, really. Alan Brown did get a goal back for us, but in the end that didn't really mean anything. And to make things even worse for Preston, Josh Harrop has now been ruled out for the rest of the season with an ACL injury. So things aren't just going well for Preston at the moment. We saw Norwich beat Wigan Athletic by 1-0, and this result now lifts Norwich into the playoffs. They are now sat 5th in the Championship, and what a turnaround it's been for them recently. You know, they've been under a really good run of form in their last 5 or so games in the Championship, because before that, you know, there's quite a lot of gloom over Norwich, a lot of uncertainty over whether the Norwich fans thought Daniel Farke was the right man for the job. But even so, lately they've been looking excellent. Wigan Athletic away from home this season haven't been the best. Once again, another game where they've not scored away. I don't think they even had a shot on target in this game. It was Joe Garner who they had isolated up front. Wasn't really offering a lot, you know, as a lone striker. I don't think Garner's really best suited to that. You know, he needs to be playing with someone playing off him. They tried to put Nick Powell up there later on, but even then nothing was really sticking for them going forward. Norwich probably should have had a penalty earlier on in this game as well. I think it was Timu Pukki who was racing through on goal, but in the end the referee waved that protest away. But it was a penalty in the 86th minute, which did win it for Norwich. Vrancic managing to tuck that away. In the end, Norwich probably did deserve all 3 points from this one. A frustrating afternoon for Wigan, who didn't really have anything going forward. You know, Tim Krul wasn't really tested for this one, so a frustrating one for Wigan, but even so, Norwich, they've been looking good lately. Next up, we then had Swansea beating QPR by 3-0 in what was a very convincing performance from the home side of this one. And Graham Potter, the Swansea manager, I don't think he's got enough appreciation so far this season, really, because the job he's doing at Swansea City so far has been absolutely fantastic. You know, the amount of young players he's bringing through with this Swansea side after the transfer window they had as well. They lost a lot of big players in that window, not really replacing a lot of them either. I think he's doing an absolutely superb job. It was Courtney Baker-Richardson who managed to give Swansea their lead with his first senior goal in football. Ollie McBurney heading it back across goal, and a nice finish from him. And he probably could have had a hat-trick in this game, really, with some of the other chances he had, but nothing else was falling for him. Into the second half there, I thought Swansea once again were going on to dominate this game, really. Some of their passing moves, they were pulling QPR all around the midfield, and they were absolutely fantastic. Clinical going forward as well. After that, it was Roberts who managed to make it 2-0, and then Fulton managed to make it 3-0 to Swansea. So QPR, with some of their performance recently, they've been regressing a little bit. You know, they've lost their last 2 games in the Championship now, with both of their recent performances, defensively especially, not really being the best. Going forward, they had a couple of chances in this one, a couple of speculative efforts, but apart from that, not the best from QPR, from what we've seen of them from other times this season. But Swansea, I thought, were absolutely excellent in this game. Then for our final game, we saw Rotherham draw 2-2 with Stoke City, and once again, another game I was able to predict because it was such a predictable game from Stoke City's point of view. Going forward, once again, they looked absolutely fantastic in this game, but their defence was once again their downfall. Stoke actually started this game quite positively, really. Joe Allen had a really good chance, Benicofobia as well hitting the crossbar. Stoke started quite brightly going forward, but it was Rotherham who managed to break the deadlock going into the second half. Ashley Williams had a bit of a disaster for this game, really. He gave away the penalty for the first one after Williams from Rotherham absolutely skinned him down the left-hand side, a clumsy challenge, and then Ryan Manning managed to put Rotherham 1-0 in front. After that, it was Richie Towell who managed to make it 2-0 to Rotherham. This goal coming from a corner, and if there's one player from Rotherham who you're going to want to pick up from a corner, it's going to be Wood. He was left free inside the 6-yard box to head it back across goal, and then Towell managed to make it 2-0 to Rotherham. After that, though, it was quite a good response from Stoke City. Tom Ince grabbing the goal back, the ball coming in in from the left-hand side from Peters, and then sort of a sweeping finish into the bottom corner from Tom Ince. And then in the 85th minute, it was Bojan with a really nice darting header into the back of the net to make it 2-2. You know, he's only 5'7", you wouldn't really expect that sort of goal from him. But even so, Stoke managing to rescue a point from this one, but they can't continue like this. Given their opposition a 2-goal lead with some sloppy defending, it's got to be stamped out of their game sooner rather than later. But guys, there were all the games that did take place this weekend. So in terms of my goal of the weekend, I mean, come on, there can only be one. It is, of course, going to go to Adam Rich for his absolute thunderbolt against Leeds United. And then for my result of the weekend, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Bolton Wanderers. There are a couple of teams who I could have given it to, but not a lot of people were giving Bolton much hope going into this game against Derby. Derby coming into it with a fantastic run of form after their last two results, but Bolton managed to put Derby in their place for that one, and a fantastic 1-0 home victory. And to wrap up the video, we do have some midweek games going on in the Championship, so make sure you guys do go ahead and get your score predictions in the comments down below for a chance to be involved in the next video. But in terms of my score predictions, first of all, we got the games going on Tuesday. Aston Villa going up against my team Preston. Neither fan base, I feel, is confident going into this game, but I am going to say that Villa will still beat us by 2-1. Our defence at the moment is still an absolute shambles. Brentford going up against Birmingham. I'm going to say that that one will finish as a 1-1 draw. Hull going up against Leeds. I thought Leeds probably did put in one of their best performances of the season against Sheffield Wednesday, and I'm going to back them for a 3-1 away victory. I thought they looked good in their last game. Ipswich going up against Middlesbrough could easily finish as a draw, but I'm just going to back Middlesbrough for a 1-0 away victory. Wigan going up against Swansea City. Swansea I thought looked excellent in their last game. I'm going to back them for a 2-1 away victory. Reading going up against QPR. Reading going forward lately have looked fantastic on the counter-attack, especially. QPR not looking brilliant defensively at the moment, so I'll go for a 2-1 home victory in that game. Stoke going up against Bolton Wanderers. I'm going to back Stoke for another 2-2 draw. I feel like there's goals to be had in that game, but defensively Stoke is still an absolute shambles. Into Wednesday's games, we've got Blackburn Rovers going up against Sheffield United. That one could be a really entertaining game of football. Both teams have been fantastic so far this season, and I'm going to say that that one will finish as a 2-2 draw. Derby going up against Norwich. Derby are going to have to show a response from their last game against Bolton, but even so, Norwich have been playing some very good stuff lately. I'll say that one will finish as a 1-1 draw. Nottingham Forest going up against Millwall. I'll back Forest for a 2-1 home victory. Millwall lately haven't really been at it. Rotherham going up against Bristol City. Quite a tough one to predict, but with how good Rotherham have been at home so far this season, I'm going to back Rotherham for a 2-1 home victory in that game. Then finally we have Sheffield Wednesday going up against West Brom, and for that game I'll say that West Brom will walk away with a 2-1 away victory. That's a tough one to call. Two sides who like to score goals in that game. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for this episode of the Championship Roundup. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. Also, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.